My name is Hal Eagletail from Tsuut'ina Nation. I'm the ambassador of special events for Tsuut'ina Nation Chieftain Council. This evening we're having our annual Tsuut'ina Chieftain Council Feast and Powwow. It was started back in about 1912, 1913.
This is the season of celebration, of family, of remembering, of love. And on Tsuut'ina is our time for healing.
The sacredness of our ceremonies and Sundance, that's where our young preserve our identity. And that's what we need to maintain, is the spiritual side of those ceremonies. But we're so open and welcome for the powwow evolution because it's a sharing time, it's a healing time. Everyone's invited to participate. For the young ones to really understand who they are, well, go to the ceremony. Learn the protocol songs, learn the ceremony songs, because that's the only place you're going to learn them is by attending ceremony. Whatever environment you give the children to have a safe upbringing, we encourage that, whether it's in a traditional native sense, whether it's in a denomination that was introduced to us by European, whatever makes a person a humble person, a good person, we never question that. As long as those children have a safe environment to grow up in. Break in the historical trauma.
I've always been Tracy Bone. Yeah. It's a good stage name, good strong stage name. Today was, well, the Nashville North contest. It was a contest where you enter like a minute-long video, and it could be a cappella or you play guitar or whatever. They pick top 10 out of there. One person is chosen by votes, and the other 9 are chosen by the industry.
Thank you so much.
Today we had the, I guess, semifinals, you could call it, where the top 10 were narrowed down to top 6. And so that was pretty cool because not long ago I found out I made it to top 6. So, and then Monday will be the finals. So. I'm from Kisikuinen Ojibwe First Nation on my dad's side, and then on my mom's side I'm from Broken Head Ojibwe First Nation. So she lives over there. Quite a bit of my family on my mom's side lives there now. They've all moved back there. Just kind of followed, I guess, the path that my mom chose. She was in school, and so we'd go to the city, and I always remember her being in school, like all the years. I remember I went to, she put me in daycare till I was about 12. Till you can't go no more. Whether we were on the reservation or in the city, we still weren't around culture or language or anything like that. So my preference, what I loved the most, was being on the reservation because that's where, the playground were cars, like abandoned cars and hoods, making tree houses and jumping in the river and getting leeches all over you, and running on the train tracks all the way to town.
For Nashville North, let's welcome contestant number 1, Tracy Bone.
I didn't know who I was. I had no identity. I didn't know what to be proud of. In fact, I remember being embarrassed. I remember telling people I was everything but Ojibwe.
Good evening, everyone. This is my very first time here at Nashville North, so this is a very exciting evening for me.
Because I always heard negative things. And, when you're a young kid, you don't want to be an outcast. You don't want to be labeled as something bad, like how they made us sound. So I didn't understand. So I learned a little bit of other people's languages too, like Tagalog. Like my eldest daughter, she's Filipino, so I danced their dances and sang some of their songs. So I was trying to find my own identity, and I didn't know where I belonged. I'm learning other people's languages, but that's the piece that's been missing, is my culture. When you're disconnected from that or have never even experienced a connection, only because, that I didn't learn the language or wasn't brought up around POWs and things like that. But so I didn't really know, and they didn't really know either, like what to be proud of or how, like the pride in that. I always heard it, but I didn't understand it because I was never around it. So I've been on my own journey, I guess, just like everybody else, their spiritual journey, where you take a look at yourself, and I'm still learning every day, and I've been on this journey for a couple of years now, And although I'm fresh to it and new to it, it's been such a tremendous growth, very humbling, and we all embark on those kind of journeys, for our own reasons. But I think underneath it all, it's to break that cycle, and because we want to be well.
Even though you said goodbye, don't expect me to just walk away. For I know what you mean to me, and that alone tells me that we were meant to be together. Hey,
Rocky Winonis. I'm from a place called Big River First Nation, located in Saskatchewan, 5 hours northeast of here. I am here today to honor the tobacco that was given to us after winning the powwow last year in the drumming contest. So I am here to host the powwow which is Ermineskin Cree Nation in Alberta here. Well, most of the songs were, back in the day, in the past, they were passed down. Then powwow got contemporary, where singers will start making their own songs. In the 80s, it was all straight singing, no words. Into the 90s, into the late 80s, 90s, singers from, more specifically Red Bull singers, were the ones who brought out the contemporary style, which was words. And it's exciting for me because when I talk about it, it's awesome. Because I get to hear words, and first time hearing words in 1990 when I started, right, 99 into the 90s, and I was like, wow. Most of my songs that we sing, I compose that I try to use old Cree, old style Cree, old words from different song composers. Northern Cree, they like to use contemporary words, slang sort of words, rocking. They like to sing hard rocking, emphasizing their words. Us, we like to sing a more smooth style, where there's not much emphasis in our words, and there's a more smooth flow. Like that. And so a lot of people, different people like different styles. Most of these people that are here today, their lives they're on two roads, they're walking two roads. What I mean by that is, okay, there's one road where you have to believe in the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. And that's the Western society, is where you have to do your taxes, pay your bills, live in this contemporary world, right? In this ever-evolving world. And then there's this other road, is the red road, is a traditional road, is where you have to stay connected. Just like a tree. A tree has roots into the ground. Those roots are the teachings, the language, the practices, the customs, the traditions, the sacred narratives, the Cree creation stories. The most important of all is the language. It's a struggle. It's tough making both worlds happy, I guess. You got to have balance. You got to take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. One of those break down, the rest start breaking down. So there's got to be a balance. There's got to be time to be serious, time to play sober, no judging involved, no lateral violence. It's straight love, faith, and hope, right? So it's been a tough road. I lived in Prince Albert, I've lived in Saskatoon, and I still managed to keep my language. I still managed to keep my songs. Because you have how you have to do that is because you have to attend these things. You attend, you leave the urban setting to attend the traditional setting. You go back, you do whatever you got to do, your schooling, your job, your whatever you got to do in an urban setting. You go do that, go take care of that, then you come take care of this, the songs, you come take care of the dancers, you come take care of the drum. So it's back and forth. It's back and forth just like any other thing. It's like a hockey player. Goes back home and takes care of his family, his personal life, and then he goes and plays hockey. Same thing.
My name is Teresa Cardinal. I'm family support worker at the Native Friendship Society in Red Deer. From Saddle Lake, Alberta. It's not small. No, it's one of the bigger reserves in Alberta. I went to elementary in Saddle Lake, and I also went to elementary for a bit in St. Paul. You understood it?
Hi, Teresa. Beautiful power ground.
Yeah, I'm showing off the power ground. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Everybody's so interested in what's going on. It's funny. So I graduated from St. Paul Regional High School in 2007. I decided I wanted to challenge myself to go to quote-unquote white school, right? Because it was in that nearby town. There hasn't been a good relationship between the town and my reserve. But I wanted to graduate from there because I had goals of continuing my education. So one thing that I remember was I was really into volleyball. I enjoyed doing that. So I went to tryouts. I was the only Native girl who was trying out that day. It was very divided. Long story short, I left the tryouts in tears because no one would acknowledge me or pass the ball to me. And I felt that every time I was trying to get somebody to notice me, to pass me the ball, like I was just left in the dark. It was awful. I don't really remember learning a whole lot about residential school in high school. I remember learning about Napoleon and Hitler, you know, how the government works. But I knew about it. I knew about it because my mom went to residential school and my grandmother went to residential school. My mom was in, it was considered a residential school. It was at Blue Quills.
Where's that?
It's just close to St. Paul there. It's actually a college now. Can you say hi? This is my brother Blue Quill.
Hello.
So he's named after what I was telling you about earlier.
And who's that?
This is my son, Xander, Paul.
Hi, Xander.
No. They talk about how Christopher Columbus came and he was some great explorer and he discovered us, and they don't mention the rape and the pillage and the colonization and the violence and the people who were murdered and the villages that were wiped out. They don't tell you about that, and they don't tell you about that in school. Go, go, go! And then they don't teach how much that has affected this generation. They don't talk about that. No, it doesn't, no. There's a lot of heartbreak here. It can be so heavy here sometimes. People are killing themselves all the time here. I felt like that when I lived here. I'm still learning how to adapt myself to forgive the history of what happened to my people, to what happened to my family. It's hard to find that respect. I think a lot of people still struggle with that, and I don't know if they'll ever find it. I was lucky to have good teachers. I was definitely very, very standoffish to white people. It took me a long time. I was angry. I was angry a lot. I was angry of how I felt going into that town. I was angry of the divide in that school. I was angry of how some of the teachers would look at me differently. I was angry. I was pretty angry. I was very angry. When I really got into my addiction, I took that anger out a lot.
My name is Ryan Jason Allen Willert. I'm from a reservation called Siksika Nation. It's a Blackfoot reservation, part of the Treaty 7 district. I wasn't raised on Siksika. My father, his name is Richard Dickey Stimson, and he's a full Blackfoot man from the Siksika Nation. He has passed now. I did get to, we got very close. It's the best way to clean a brush, is water it down with your mouth. Use your own saliva. There, now all the paint's gone, it's back to normal. It's a good brush again. I wasn't raised on my reserve. I lived out there a little bit on and off here and there. I was raised in Innisfil, Alberta, and in Red Deer, Alberta. And my mom was a white woman with a native child. And when I was younger, I didn't really see that difference. You know, when you're younger, you don't see that skin color difference. You're just a kid enjoying life, playing. I got into selling artwork before I was even good at artwork. I was selling other people's artwork, and I felt guilty about selling their art, so I started working on my own. I think it started to happen around grade 5. After grade 5 happened, the kids just started getting mean. And then grade 6, they got mean. Grade 7, they got mean. Grade 8, it just was... And then I'd go home, try to escape that, and my stepfather was also mean. Living quite comfortably. Could live more comfortably and start traveling. That would be nice, but... you know, that's all baby steps. And then when you went to school, the kids, they started to repeat the things that they would hear at home from their own parents. And when you live in an all white town, people that are, you know, oil field money type people, you go to the oil field and you listen to how those people talk. It's very sexist, homophobic, and racial jokes. And so when these parents are out there working, they come home and they speak like that around their children. And then their children come to school and repeat that. I, at that time, hated being Native. I despised the fact that I was Native. I remember being that age and I'd dye my hair blonde, you know, trying to fit in with the white kids. And people ask me if I'm Native. I'd be like, yeah, but I wasn't raised by any of my Native family. I was raised by my white family. I'm not Native. I try to convince them how un-Native I am. I just got the brown skin. I tried my hardest to be away from my Native side as possible, but it's almost impossible to escape that. Nobody bought it. There's no escaping it. I got this nose, this dark skin, these cheeks, this dark hair.
Come awkwardly closer.
That's okay. Grade 9, yeah, I ended up I vandalized a whole bunch of people's property. For the whole night, right till about Friday, about 5 o'clock in the morning, we were on a cop chase, going around smashing people's windows and running them from the cops. So I guess the whole time when they were chasing us, they knew who they were chasing. I didn't know that. I thought that we would get away with it. I thought that they had no clue who they were chasing, but they knew who they were chasing. And it was me and my friend Clayton and Will. And then I got home and I could just see a cop car just waiting in the back alley at my mom's house. I was like, geez. So I snuck around. I went into my window. I snuck into my window into the basement and went to sleep. Also, my mom knocked on the door. She's like, there's the cops. They're at the door. She knew I was gone. The cops had come there earlier asking about me, where I am. The cops brought me into the jail, and Clayton too, and Will. Clayton's parents, you know, they got a slap on the wrist and they got put home. And Will's parents also, they got a slap on the wrist, sent home. And then the cops came to me and they're like, your mom doesn't want you home anymore.
Use a bit of flash here, so.
That's okay. That's another story. It's just so weird how I ended up selling artwork just like that on the street, just like my dad. I was supposed to go to the reserve and meet a lot of my family when I was younger. So we met up at the hotel downtown, right beside the remand center. We sat down. My father, he promised my mom he wouldn't drink. He's like, come meet your son. Oh, no, I won't drink. So he shows up there, orders a steak dinner. He had bandanas on, just big native bandanas on his head. Gloves, they look like mittens. They're just huge. I just remember this guy. I was like, geez, this guy's really big and scary looking, eh? I was like, holy smokes. I didn't know, but he was funny, eh? So, and then he orders a steak and then orders a beer. And I could just see my mom. I remember my mom just like, you said that you wouldn't do that. She's like, oh, it's just one. Never mind. It'll be all right. It'll be okay. That's how he talked. And I was like, oh, okay. So he brings out a folder of artwork, you know, like a folder full of prints with all my relatives' artwork on it. And he gives it to me. He's like, you hear, this is for you, son.
My name is Cecilia Good-Eagle. My traditional name is Bayut-Depuyak. That means attacking woman. I'm from the Siksika Nation and I'm half from Saddle Lake, so I'm half Blackfoot and half Cree. I'm a supervisor for the interpretive program here at the Indian Village, so I'm also in charge of tours and everything. People like tourists, when they come into the village, they sometimes think we are all the same tribe, which we are not. We're not the same tribe. In the Indian village, we have the Tsuut'ina, we have the Blackfoot, we have the Kainai, we have the Piikani, and then we have the Stoney Nakoda. And then the designs on the teepee, you can tell which ones are Blackfoots. Like for example, this one right here, there's the dots at the bottom and they're round. Those represent hills for the Plains people. If you see the other teepees with the triangular designs at the bottom, those represent the Nakota people because they live by the mountains, right? So that's how us, amongst our own people, we can tell which teepee is from which tribe. When I had a house on the reserve, we used to have drum practices in the basement. And you know, the neighbors know that we're culturally inclined and everything, so we can have drum practices. I used to practice dancing outside my house and the neighbors would just come out and watch, right? And but here in the city, because there is like a noise bylaw, so you can't actually have drum practice here in the city. So that's why there's places like the Boys and Girls Club that are rented out in regards to teaching cultural dancing and singing and drumming and everything. I can't speak for everybody, but I myself personally moved off the reserve for education. I know that education is very important, and that's what I'm teaching my children. My oldest daughter just turned 18 and she graduated, and now she's going to go to state. You have to be respectful, not only amongst your own people, but people in general, because we are all not the same, but we need to learn to get along and everything.
My first name's Dallas and my last name's Arkand. I'm from the Alexandria First Nation. I was born in Edmonton. Howdy. I'm an Aboriginal entertainer, so the main thing I do is hoop dancing, but I also do music and I do speaking, I do storytelling.
And I would like to invite to the stage all the way from the Kisekiwinin First Nation, representing some First Nation as well. Miss Tracy Bone is going to accompany on this next song.
Yeah, when I go, I represent for my Canadian heritage and represent and tell the story of Canada, you know, because Canada has only been a country since 1867. Our Indigenous ancestors have always been part of Canada and what Canada is, and we are what makes up Canada. At those times, Aboriginal people helped European people. A lot of them showed up and nearly dying from scurvy. It was unfortunate that Indigenous people weren't immune to the European bugs and germs. So what happened to a lot of the early Indigenous people is they became sick because they weren't used to those type of germs that European people had, because they never encountered anything like that. Yeah, I guess that's part of the unfortunateness of it, because it wiped out nearly all Indigenous peoples. The historians say that there was an estimated 100 million Indigenous people here when Europeans first arrived, and today there's barely a million. Well, we're growing, but it's quite a small percentage of Indigenous peoples. I'll tell you my last two jobs. When I was 21 to about 22, I was a bartender in Bragg Creek at the Powderhorn Saloon. Even then, people were kind of calling me that they're token Indian, and people thought it was strange to be being served by an Indian. And I imagine some of them at some point in their life, they've made fun of Indians because, you know, the old saying goes that people say, oh, drunken Indians, and then all of a sudden they walk into a bar and hey, here's this guy with a long braid serving them alcohol. An Indigenous person, what? Oh, here you go, you get drunk now, man. So that was one of the last jobs I worked. But at the time I became the world champion for hoop dancer, and I had an epiphany, and at that time I thought, you know what? If I could work 12 hours a day for anybody, then why can't I do that for myself? So I thought, you know, if I invest this time into studying and practicing and learning and applying for jobs, why can't I do that for me? Why can't I do that for my people? Why can't I do that for Aboriginal culture? Why can't I do that for hoop dancing?
We're so fortunate that a lot of our members never went to residential schools. We were a moving nation from the States and ended up here. So, which is a good thing. So a lot of our people never really went to residential schools at all.
We are a really cultural band. We are recognized probably one of the most cultural bands in Alberta. We do sun dances, we do round dances, of course the powwow. Then we have our chicken dances, ghost dances, trading dances. We do a lot of sweats probably every week. A lot of nations out there I would like to encourage, like they're starting to lose that. With us, we try and balance everything culturally in whatever we do. It's always culture and say like business, right? It's a whole different world out there. I guess I would have to say a lot of our people don't like to leave because they know how it's like out there. Because when I was going to school in Edmonton when I was younger, I had it rough. Rough as in trying to stay in school and to try and live at the same time. I didn't have no income, no work, because I was going to school. And the rent is so high, so I had to be, renting off other people. So we recognize that. A lot of our leaders that are leaders right now, they've been through that and they see it. Everything you do in the world, you need to balance everything. Doesn't matter what it is. Cultural and whatever it is you're attacking. And I think that would probably be the best thing to say is you need balance in life.
For I know what you made to me, and I don't